You are listening to The Thought Leaders Show with the world's cutting-edge, hottest innovators, influencers, and impact makers today. If you are looking for inspiration and motivation, listen in. Welcome to The Thought Leaders Show. Now, here's your host.
Hi, this is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited to introduce today's guest, Larry Ward. He is the Chief Marketing Officer for Gun Dynamics. He brings decades of political, corporate, and nonprofit experience and expertise to his role as the head of marketing, experience that allows him to direct a new company to success. From a New York communications and advertising background, Larry turned his attention to Washington in 2002 as a reaction to the overregulation that was choking the aggressiveness out of capitalism and liberty. His immediate impact was felt where, under the tutelage of political consultant Dick Morris, Larry was able to influence key congressional and gubernatorial elections. Since then, Larry and PMI have been involved in hundreds of political contests ranging from local to state to national and even global contests, always with the same commitment to God, liberty, and principled conservatism. Welcome, Larry.
Hey, thanks for having me.
This is a really interesting conversation, everyone. So I really want you to listen in. Larry is part of a company called Gun Dynamics, and I want him to explain exactly what he is doing and why Gun Dynamics is so different than anything you've probably ever heard of before. So tell me more, Larry.
Sure. Well, here's the thing is Gun Dynamics would not have been an idea or an entity or anything like that had the firearms industry not been choked to death originally by the Obama administration and now by corporate America. And so what had happened is during the Obama administration, President Obama put out a executive order called Operation Choke Point. And I don't know if your listeners are familiar with it or not, but essentially it was exactly what it sounds like. It was designed to choke the financial and business life out of gun manufacturers, gun inventors, and anything firearms related. It was a way to circumvent the Second Amendment that the courts couldn't or didn't at the time have any jurisdiction out of, and it was also, a way Congress wasn't able to immediately correct with legislation. So when President Trump was elected, Operation Choke Point went away. What happened was the banks and corporate boardrooms with, let's say, activist investors or folks on the board started following that same rule of Operation Choke Point and legislating from the boardroom in order to choke the life out of the firearms industry. And a couple examples of that is Citibank recently just came out and said that anybody who has a Citibank credit card is not authorized to purchase a firearm or ammunition unless they've gone through Citibank's background check. And Citibank, of course, is not Congress. I don't know how they justify circumventing Congress in that way, but they do. Bank of America has said we're not loaning to gun manufacturers anymore. We recently had an issue with Intuit where they weren't paying charges that people had made on credit cards to gun companies, after the purchase had been placed and the product had been moved, they decided that they weren't going to pay. I think that has worked itself out, but that is just on the financial side of it. But then you look at the advertising. So you can't advertise firearms on anything Silicon Valley. I mean, you can't advertise on Google. You can't advertise on Facebook. You can't advertise firearms on Microsoft. Nobody will accept any type of firearm advertising, and it doesn't matter what it is that they're advertising. If it's firearm, we won't touch it. So what happened was, my partner Larry Lapata had this great trigger. It was a trigger that was adjustable for the 1911, an adjustable trigger called TrigFit, where if you had a long finger, you could adjust the trigger to where you're comfortable shooting, which actually makes the gun safer because it allows you to get to a comfort zone, and obviously the gun doesn't pull or misfire or shoot in a direction you don't intend it to. So it's a great little invention. He went to crowdfunded on Kickstarter. He got kicked off. He went to crowdfunded on Indiegogo. He got kicked off. And, we had been watching this since the days of Operation Choke Point. And we have been active in trying to stop these corporations from legislating from their boardrooms. And Larry had come to us and said, "Hey, we got to do something. We have to build a crowdfunding platform for firearms because they're being choked out of business." And so we built Gun Dynamics, and we launched a couple weeks ago, and we've had incredible response from the not only from the gun community, but from freedom-loving Americans who just like helping inventors bring products to market.
So you focus just on gun type products on Gun Dynamics for crowdfunding?
Yep.
So
we have some concealed carry where we have 40 or 50 projects in the pipeline since we launched. And here's the perfect example why this is necessary. I'm not talking sketches on a napkin. I'm talking projects that have gone through the patent process, that have patents issues that they can't manufacture because they can't find the funding to do so.
Wow. So these are things that could range anywhere. Like you said, this 1911 trigger was revolutionary because it actually made a gun safer to use because it made it more accurate from the trigger point. Is that how I heard that?
Absolutely. And there's another gun up there called the Circuit Tech, and it's a really cool gun because it instead of the gun sliding in just one direction, it slides in two directions, so it prevents muzzle climb. It's really a unique invention in the gun space, which there aren't many. Major changes to the way guns are manufactured. It's a really kind of a slow adopting community to change, but this is a pretty revolutionary product, and we have it up there with a lot of enthusiasm for people who see the video and actually see the story and see why it was made.
So you said that you literally just launched Gun Dynamics recently. How many different products or funding campaigns are currently available?
Right now we have 5 campaigns on the site. We are looking to, like I said, we're looking to add, we have 40 projects currently in the pipeline that are set to go. We are not just accepting everybody. We're doing a great deal of due diligence, so it's going to be more boutique-y than a free-for-all kind of Kickstarter. Mm-hmm. Just because we want to make sure that the product is viable and the project has real market value. So we respect the people who are coming and supporting the project. So
when you do your vetting process, What would it look like if somebody did have an invention? It's all firearms related, I take it, or gun related.
Gun related. Like I said, we have concealed carry vests and wear on the site right now. It could be, it could be as targets. It could be, anything. Gun doesn't have to be a gun or ammo. Although we are absolutely thrilled that we have lots of those inventions in the pipeline, and a couple of them on the site now. But yeah, anything in the firearms industry.
Wow, so it's a very niche-related type of site. So, how long? Like, let's say that I invented a safety vest or something, and if I had that, or does it have to have a patent on it, or is it?
No.
Where do you
of course not.
People?
Well, obviously we will look at projects that are kind of like, back of the napkin ideas. And as long as they're exciting and we believe they're viable, we'll help the folks put together the project, put together the marketing behind it, and feature it on the site. But it's got, like I said, it's got to be a good, viable product and good for the marketplace as well. And so it could be something on the back of the envelope, or it could be, something with a patent. And that's really exciting.
So how does your program work? I'm a little bit familiar with other crowdfunding sites, but let's say that you have a product up on the site. So would people go, and do they create a video or a story of the product? How does it work?
Exactly the same. It's a story. It's just like when you're raising money, you got to tell your story about why folks should support your product, should support your business. You tell the story, why it needs to exist, what need it's filling in the marketplace. And then you put, a nice video behind it, or a couple of graphics, infographics, that type of thing, and just promote it to the public. And if, folks want to come in and see that product come to market, they'll help support it.
So with these products, how do you promote Gun Dynamics? Are you able, as a site, to be promoted on other social media, or Google or Microsoft, or does that limit how you're able to market your own website?
It is extraordinarily frustrating and limiting. The Facebook, for example, to boost a post on Facebook, they won't boost anything having to do with guns. So, we have to kind of circumvent that and create news articles and things of that nature just to drive traffic to the website. And we do that, but, we're against the, not a culture that is completely anti-gun. And quite frankly, in a lot of ways, anti-First Amendment too. It's hard to believe that Facebook could be anti-First Amendment, but in a lot of ways they are. That they like their point of view promoted, and not necessarily folks who disagree with them. And that's why they went in front of Congress. And there were so many examples of, and I've experienced it in the 10 to 15 years I've been working with Facebook, where so many examples where conservatives or Christian or, more of a libertarian point of view, gets choked or, gets censored. Matter of fact, I think we had ours was, I put a meme up, and I think we were the first people to call Facebook out on this issue. We put a meme up in 2012 after Benghazi. It had a picture of Obama with his hands in his ears, and it said, and on the juxtaposed to Osama bin Laden, and it said, when Obama called the SEALs, they got bin Laden. When the SEALs called Obama, they got denied. and that post got 25,000 shares in an hour. I've never seen anything like it. It was incredible post. And then within about an hour, I came back and it was pulled off the site for violating whatever policy that they made up. So I put it back up, and then I got suspended. And so I brought the post and the message from Facebook to Breitbart, and they posted a story on it, and it wound up on the front page of Drudge. And then 6 minutes later, I got a call from Facebook executives begging me to not say that they were censoring the SEALs, because it was a SEAL pack that was behind it, Special Operations pack.
Wow, what a tightrope that all of media are walking. So basically what you have found then in trying to market Gun Dynamics is you basically can talk about it on news shows or on podcasts. And then, of course, because it is newsworthy, because it is so different, and it gives you that opportunity to talk about what it is and how it supports these entrepreneurial people who are creating these gun-focused products. So,
absolutely. And the one thing that we do have as our advantage is I've been in the political space, and I do know the censorship, and I do know the workarounds, and we have an extraordinarily, already on Gun Dynamics, we have 140,000 people on our email list that get our daily email report and get tremendous 20 to 30% open rates on them, because there is this hunger for this information, not only from the projects, but also for good news about guns, for how guns saves lives on a daily basis. You don't read about that. You don't read about the 8 times a good guy with a gun saved a school shooting. That the FBI just put out a report very recently with that a good guy with a gun saved 8 school shootings. What they didn't put a report out was on how many gun-free zones stopped a school shooter, because that would be 0. So you don't see that type of news, and there's a hunger out there for it. So we're getting a tremendous response just from our email efforts.
So is your site Gun Dynamics? So you're a crowdfunding site. Are you also like a news aggregator site also, so that people can go there to get this type of news?
So not only news aggregator, we're creating some news. We're posting some videos, from stories, like some stories of folks who have stories to tell how a gun saved their life, and so we're aggregating some stories from great sources, and we're also creating some news content, and because that we can't just promote our campaigns. Unfortunately, it's too difficult to make that work without a broader content approach to get people back to our site, because, like I said, we do fight these battles, the same battles that these gun manufacturers fight when they try to advertise or raise funds for their products.
I can see
quite frankly, it's a very unfair business practice, but it is the current environment.
It's interesting because sometimes, when we have, like, for example, that you mentioned the school shootings, there's the public outcry about that. And then, of course, then something else happens, related, like the Las Vegas shooter, that had some information. So your site basically is designed to be a place to provide information about guns and gun-focused policies and products and things like that. Do you see, from a marketing sense or even from a political sense, do you see that more sites like yours will be created because of the fact that I think I read in some of your literature that, here your Larry had the good idea about the 9/11 trigger, and we live in a world where somebody can, start a business, in their garage and or with a good idea. And so this is kind of like Gun Dynamics was created from a need. Look, it's like, hey, we're blackballed or banned from being able to use traditional media or social, we won't even call it media, but traditional social media platforms. And so then you were able to create your own. Is there any issue, like when you create your platform, did you run into any issues about, for example, Google not ranking your site or anything like that?
Well, we haven't run into, I don't think we've run into any kind of Google suppression yet, because we probably haven't made their radar yet. I'm sure we will. I'm sure it's going to happen, but we certainly can't advertise for Gun Dynamics on Google.
Right.
And that's the problem. Is the only way to get the word out is to promote. You can only go so far with search engine optimization. You actually need to do some search engine marketing.
Right.
And you need to do, you need to get out and say, here are the people I want to touch. Here are the people I want to reach, potential customers, potential inventors, and tell them what we're doing. So we're taking a non-traditional path here, and because we have to circumvent, let me say it this way, the mainstream social media.
Right. Well, it's interesting because I'm looking at this also from just a straight marketing point of view. It's actually a really good marketing lesson for people who are saying, well, how do I market my business without traditional paid advertising, such as, paid advertising on Google or YouTube or Facebook. But at the same time, you have to fight, like you said, the censorship of what you're allowed, the types of information that you're allowed to post. And so I think it's interesting because when it becomes newsworthy, despite all of the things said about news, it is the one place where you can actually get the word out because it really is newsworthy to talk about these issues and about creating something to talk about things that traditional media or traditional mainstream social media is not allowing, because of the nature of it, because they're trying to protect, a different group of people, I guess. But I think that's really interesting from just a pure marketing point of view of just thinking about, well, gee, how do you market something if you have something that is not something that you can just blatantly promote out into the world. So to date, you said that you have 140,000 people. What has been your most effective means? You mentioned the press releases. What has been the most effective means to create that email list to get people to know that?
Well, obviously we do a number of press. We're in a unique situation that the business itself is topical. So we're taking advantage of that, and we've gotten some great coverage. Even I have to say, even Reuters did a fairly good piece on us, and it was covered, on almost every mainstream media outlet out there. And they cover this stuff a lot of times. The mainstream media does, because they think we're crazy. So they want to put out there that, look at these crazy people who are promoting guns in this environment. Don't they know guns kill people? And so we're going to put this out there to show how nutty they are. But the truth is, I think the American people and the business and the people in the business community, know that after you separate emotion and emotional reaction from a tragedy, at the end of the day, the logic is that guns are there as a tool. They don't kill. I've got guns in my house. They've never shot themselves, and the only time they get shot is when I need them to shoot, either at a target practice or to defend myself. And so, once that logic seeps in, that emotional argument doesn't hold much water. And that's why they keep losing. That's why they lost in Congress. Time and time again, even after Newtown, they lost in Congress just a month later when the Toomey Manchin bill was put down, and they continually lose in the Supreme Court. There was just the 10-year anniversary of the Heller decision in D.C., which basically said that we are the militia, we are the people that have the right to keep and bear arms, and that right shall not be infringed. The problem now isn't the government. I mean, because the government, the gun control lobby has lost. They've lost in Congress. The problem is corporate America, that is filled with gun control activists that are trying to force their will on the American people by, like I said, forcing a background check that was not authorized by Congress on its customers. So the only way that we can get out there is in the media to make our presentation, to explain why there's a need here, to explain the unfair business practices, and also, to point out, hey, look, you have a choice. You don't need a Citibank credit card. There are a lot of other banks out there that, won't discriminate against you because you believe in the Second Amendment.
Well, that would be really something, to go. I have sons who, they're responsible gun owners. And can you imagine if you were to just go, to get your target practice ammunition and you can't buy it without a background check, certain things, it does seem like Citibank would be overstepping its bounds. And I'm thinking that Gun Dynamics, as the crowdfunding source and also as a place for news and information, that's another alternative for people to find the information that they seek so that they can be educated about all of these different things. Because I'm not a gun owner, but that doesn't mean that, I support the rights of people who want to be a gun owner to have a gun and to, use it for safety and all those good things like hunting and everything. So if somebody wanted to get more information about Gun Dynamics or placing a product on the crowdfunding site, how could they do that?
Go to gundynamics.com, and you can check out under campaigns menu. There's a couple of our campaigns. You can see it. There's a contact button, and we are, we're taking lots and lots of projects under consideration as fast as we possibly can. We are a small business. So please bear with us. We don't get back to you, within 24 hours or so. Please reach out back to us. We do want to take every single idea and project under consideration. And so simply just go to gundynamics.com. And if you see something you like, if you're not an inventor and you just want to support the Second Amendment, there's lots of cool projects up there. You can help support us, helping, we're crowdfunding our own business here to help get it off the ground because, quite frankly, it's a difficult business to raise capital and to get financing for. So we're going to rely on the crowd to help, to help support and keep us going. Well, plus you can get a cool T-shirt or a cool challenge coin, and you get something for your money.
Wow. Well, it is it does make you feel kind of good that we live in a country where even though there might be opposing views, that you can create something like this to help create this crowdfunding, and that people can help and do things, that they feel passionate about. and creating. I have a friend actually who has created like some type of a gun safety device, and so I'm going to tell him about your crowdfunding site, because it from what he described it to me as, it sounded like it might be something that would be a perfect fit for Gun Dynamics. So I'll be sure to
absolutely
send him to you. Well, Larry, I really appreciate you taking the time, and I really got a good education about the things about guns. To tell you the truth, I really did not know that you were not allowed to promote guns on Facebook or Google or other sites like that. So I learned something, and I'm sure the listeners learned something today. And I really liked the way that you talked about it in a very logical and rational way, without the dynamics of the emotion, because that, I think that's the important thing, to have a really good conversation about these things so that people can really understand, so they can think for themselves and make good sound decisions about things such as guns, and using them in the right way and everything. So I really appreciate that.
I appreciate you having me today, and would love to catch up a little later and let you know how we're doing.
Yes, I'll definitely check in with you, because I would be very interested in learning more about the types of projects that you do have. And since you're so new, it is exciting to find out, in the future what happens. So I'll definitely invite you back, Larry. And again, everyone, it's gundynamics.com. And you can go there and take a look at how you can help with some crowdfunding, and also get some information and some news. And again, Larry, thank you.
Thank you very much. Talk to you soon.
This is Tammy Patzer. I'll talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the Thought Leaders Show. To get all past shows and to get all future shows, go to thoughtleadershow.com.